Good afternoon, everyone. It is the 25th of October 2017, and I am, as of tomorrow, is going to be my 12th tee shot, which is cool. And next week, on Wednesday, the 1st of November, I'm scheduled for top surgery with Catherine Milroy in London. Um, my voice probably sounds a bit like harsh right now because I have had a cold the last couple of days. I'm really hoping that clears up soon because it's MCM Expo, or also known like kind of the London equivalent of Comic Con, in like 2 days, and my main cosplay is not well, it's not. I say cosplay, it's literally a fursuit. Who am I kidding? Um, but I have heard that they can, if you have a particularly bad cough or cold, they can reschedule your surgery, um, because if your throat or like airways in general is blocked anywhere, it can prevent proper breathing during when you're under the anesthetic, I think, from what I've read. So hopefully that'll clear up soon because I've already booked time off work and we've booked a hotel. So yeah, I'll probably do something on that. Maybe it's already been done. I don't know when I'll put this out. If I'll wait like another year or something to put out a video with my voice and stuff. Because like a year shows development, but 2 years shows more development. Um, like in terms of like general development, now it's been a year. I have a lot more facial hair. It didn't really start coming in properly until probably about the 10-month mark. And then it's just been coming in a lot more. It's still not quite thick enough to look decent, for me. But I have very, very visible sideburns, and the hair on my chin grows back quite quickly. I've had a lot more energy, which is nice. I've been a lot less tired in general, but that I was already like progressively getting less and less tired, because of being on levothyroxine for my underactive thyroid. I've had a lot less anxiety as well, which might also be because my situation changed, like where I live, and having a full-time job, which is quite nice. And I still get anxiety, and I still have anxiety attacks, but it's a lot lesser than it was before. Starting testosterone. Um, there's probably a bunch of other things I'm forgetting. Yeah, so a small update, and I will probably make a video which will either come out before, well, of course it'll either come out before or after this, but, um, about, like, what I'm saying is it'll probably either come out shortly before this, or way, way, way after this video, depending on if I decide to make one about extend this to the 2 year mark. Guess I could always do two. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to fursuit hell and continue cutting out this fur. I have 2 days to do the arms and the back of the head, attach the hair, and pack and get everything ready in. So we have like a bunk bed sort of deal, and we've got a futon. So when I come back from surgery, because we're not coming back from London, we're going up to London for Comic Con on Friday, and we're going to stay there until the Wednesday when I have the surgery, and then we'll be back down when I get discharged, which will probably be on the Friday, the following Friday, or the Saturday, I think. So tomorrow we've got to clean up, pack, make sure our cosplays are finished, and then set up the room so that when I come back I can just kind of crash on the futon and not move for a couple of days while I rest, because I'll probably be very tired. Okay, it is the morning of the surgery, hopefully. I had the phone call, like, yesterday about the pre-assessment, and it went okay. It was just pretty much going through all my medical history again. It wasn't meant to be, an annoyed again. That was just, like, yeah. We'd done it before, so it wasn't a big deal. There was no real issues.
Turn left at the traffic light, then take the third right.
There was no, like, specific issues or anything. So we went to Fort Park yesterday, and that was fun. I'm very tired, and I did not sleep very well.
Turn right at the traffic light, then keep right.
I followed the fasting instructions, and I'm not actually hungry, but I am very, very thirsty. My throat's very dry. So, like, I hope I have the surgery soon, just so I can have some, like, tea or something. Yeah, so it's, like, we got up at 6 a.m. And also my back hurts, and I'm just generally a sack of complaining today. Probably just to keep my mind off, like, the nervousness and stuff. Because I don't really get nervous about stuff like this, and when I do, it's like I get nervous like a few weeks before it, and then on like the day and the lead up, I'm fine because all the nervousness is wiped out of my system. But with this, I've just been like I felt really nauseous because of nerves, stuff like that. I think it's because, like, you know, it's a fairly major operation. There's like minor risk of death, stuff like that. All those fun things. I also. I don't really know what to say anymore, so. But yeah, we've got to get there by 8, but we should be there. 7, sorry. We should be there. We got to be there by 7, and we should be there by
about 5 minutes.
Yeah, by 10 to 7, so it's all good. I think the car park has free parking, so Kaida can hang around and, like, be there when I wake up, I guess. I don't know how they do things, if, like, they'll let her stay with me until... Oh, Kaida, there's an answer there. So if you need anything...
Wait.
Huh?
Trying to figure out. No.
So yeah, because I've never actually been to hospital, and this is also a private hospital. It's not like I didn't go private for the surgery, it's NHS, they just sent me to a private hospital, which is quite nice. That's very, very polite of them. So yeah, hopefully things will go well, and I will update later on. That's a very nice room. I need to pee in the cup, but I can't pee in the cup because I don't have drunk anything in like a long, long time.
It's alright, you can just squeeze one out.
Well, thanks. It's the day after the surgery, and I'm very tired. Catherine Milroy came in this morning to say that, tell me that the surgery went pretty smoothly. I don't think there was any issues or errors, not errors, but, you know, like any complications or anything. Effectively what happened was I went in about 10, 11 yesterday?
Yeah,
About half 10. And when I woke up, it was like coming up to 3 o'clock, I think. I woke up and I didn't feel sick or anything. Either the anesthetic took to it really fine, or like the anti-sickness meds really worked on me because I didn't feel ill at all, and I was taking in fluids within like half an hour, like unaided. so that's good. I mostly spent yesterday just kind of drifting in and out of sleep, because I was, trying to work off, not work off, but, ride out the anesthetic, um, which was quite weird. I don't really remember much of yesterday because I was just so tired. I slept like a rock. I slept pretty well. My chest doesn't hurt that much. It's a little achy. It's got like a tired feeling ache to it, but honestly, the drains hurt way more. That's not to say they hurt a ton. Like, the chronic pain in my legs that I get daily hurts a lot more than the drains do. But the problem with the drains is they hurt and it feels uncomfortable because it's like a tube in my like chest, armpit sort of area. So yeah, um, I don't look very dignified. Um, my hair is a mess. Everything's a mess. I took like a very brief shower earlier, which was nice and refreshing. Um, I'm very flat, which is good. Like, somehow more flatter than I thought I would be. It's not concave or anything, which is good. Um, I'm not bleeding very much. I've got my drains in, of course. I'm only bleeding a little bit. Like, since I came out, I've only bled, like, maybe a quarter of a cup of blood at all. I'm not sure if that's good. I've never had surgery before, so... but I was expecting a lot more blood from the drains, so... And, like, under my dressing, there's only a little couple of splotches of blood and... Okay, so it's like a week and a day after my surgery, and I just went to the dressings clinic to get my dressings changed and be taught how to do them and stuff, and, he said it looked like it was going pretty well. There's some swelling at the top of my chest, but, like, on one of the nipples, it's had a 90% take, and on the other one, it's had a 75% take, so I think that's really good from what I remember. It went pretty well. Like, it doesn't look like there's any, like, bruising or any, like, well, there's, like, a little bit of, like, bruising, but it's like, yellow bruising, not, like, big, like, purple bruising hematoma sort of thing, so it's looking good and fine, so I think if I just continue at the pace I'm doing, pace I'm going, and doing what I'm doing, it should be okay. It's still very uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt that much. It hurts occasionally, but it's mostly just this weird uncomfortable feeling, and I think it's actually the binder I was given, which I have to wear. I don't think I can substitute it out, but it's just because of how it feels on the side of my body, not my chest itself, I think. I mean, I don't know. We got up at like 5 a.m, so I'm really tired. Because my appointment was at 9:40, and we live like 2.5 hours away, but it's London, so we had to drive way earlier because of rush hour traffic and all that jazz. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. So it feels uncomfortable on my chest and on my side, and it hurts on my side, and it sometimes hurts on my chest. But it's not super, like, intolerable painful or anything. Like, my chronic pain that I get in my legs genuinely hurts, like, way, way, way worse. But then again, I have a really high pain tolerance, so take that with a pinch of salt. But yeah, so I got my next appointment in, well, I'm probably going to have my next appointment in, like, 5 or 6 weeks.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right on Merton High Street.
So yeah, that's all good so far. Okay, so I'm now roughly a month post-surgery. It's December the 4th, and I'm still at work, and until the 15th. And I've asked my boss if I can work from home until the new year, just because I still feel quite quite sore. So I'm gonna run through like what happened with the surgery and how it went, and kind of what my experience was. Kyder and I arrived on time to the New Victoria Hospital in Kingston. I got shown to the room I was going to be in. Kyder was with me at this point, and that's fine. Sat down for a couple of hours. They had me get changed into like the hospital gown and like some non-slip like socks, which was, they were very very uncomfortable. They felt very weird to weird to wear. I sat around for a couple of hours because there was a surgery before mine. Catherine Milroy came in and spoke to me about some of the stuff to do with the surgery. She drew on my chest and told me some stuff to expect. Then I saw the anesthetic guy who was going to be overseeing the whole surgery, and he asked me some questions as well. I got to ask him some questions. Mostly, I just want to clarify, like, if there was anything I needed to avoid eating or drinking post taking anesthetic, or having anesthetic administered, I guess. So we sat around for a couple of hours. They eventually came in, led me to the pre-theatre room. It was kind of difficult to walk there because I couldn't have my cane and my legs were very sore. So, and Kyda had to leave because she couldn't go any further. She couldn't be in the theatre room or anything. So I got lied down on the table, like a wheelie table. They put like a warm towel on me. They put the thing in my arm, cannula, I think it's called. Or maybe that came after when I was asleep. But they put something in my arm to administer the anesthetic, and it didn't hurt, like, going in at all. I barely noticed it. But it was a very surreal experience because I'd never been in this situation before. I'd never had surgery. The closest thing I'd had is I'd had some teeth out when I was a lot younger. So I was just kind of lying there staring at the ceiling. They're like, yeah, we're doing the anesthetic now. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of drifted off. Like, I didn't get a countdown or anything. I just kind of lied there and was like, this is strange. This is a really surreal situation because there's just tons of people around me. And I know I'm going to fall asleep and wake up pretty much instantly in my time. But it was surreal. So I woke up. I was in like the recovery room, and there was a couple of nurses there waiting for me, and I thought it would kind of be a blur, but I actually remember it quite clearly. The anesthetic didn't really, post waking up didn't really affect me that much, so I didn't get any nausea or anything like that. Once I was awake, I was pretty much awake, but I did have some problems with breathing and talking. No serious issues with breathing. It was, I wasn't taking quite enough oxygen to keep my, like, something to do with the heart rate monitor and stuff. So for a long time, every time they came in and took my, like, blood pressure and stuff like that, they had to do it a couple of times because I wasn't taking in enough oxygen, and there was a problem with that, and we didn't realize for a little while. But yeah, so I got taken back to my room, I got transferred to the bed. Kyda was there when I got back, I think, and I couldn't really feel anything for a long time. I was very numb, which is probably good, and I spent most of that day drifting in and out of sleep. I was really out of it. I ended up borrowing Kyda's phone and recording like a 2-hour-long video of just me rambling when I could speak. Well, it wasn't that I couldn't speak, it was just I would get out of breath, so I would talk very slowly and have to take a lot of long breaks, like that kind of thing. I was very out of it, and I pretty much ate after about 20 minutes of waking up. No nausea or anything. I was fine. I needed help going to the bathroom and stuff, and I don't remember what time I got out of the surgery. I think it was probably about 1 o'clock, and I left at like 11, maybe? It was quite quick. It went very smoothly. There was no complications, there was no issues. So in the hospital it was quite nice. It was very... I had quite a spacious room. I had like a built-in like toilet cubicle sort of thing. A shower without a step, and by the second day I was like getting up and going to the toilet on my own without help, and that was fine. I had to have these things on my feet when I was lying down, that kind of like, they filled up with air and they like squeezed your foot and like massaged it, to help with blood circulation and blood flow to the legs, because obviously I spent a lot of time lying down. And I had like a little control to move the bed up and down and like squidge itself and stuff, which was very, very useful, because getting a good sleeping position with the drains in was very difficult. I'm not sure if anyone else had the same experience as I did, but that was my personal experience. The drains were very cumbersome, and very uncomfortable. And even now, like, the past month, all the pain that I felt and soreness on my chest doesn't really compare to the drains. I have quite a high pain tolerance, so it wasn't pain as such, it was just super uncomfortable and really achy and sore. And getting them out was the worst bit. Like, I've never had drains. It was really... I'm not very squeamish, but it felt very gross. So they took the drains out on the last day. Before I went home, they checked how much blood I'd lost, and it was fine. And Kyder and I drove back to the hotel that we were meant to be staying at, and we found out we had accidentally booked it for 1 day less than we thought we had. So we were going to stay there the night, and I would recover, and then in the morning we'd drive home, because it's a bit of a drive. It's like 2-3 hours. And I'd get like a day to rest in the hotel before, because getting from like the hospital to the hotel isn't too difficult, but when you've just had surgery and it's chest surgery, so wearing a seatbelt is really difficult. It's very painful. But they were like, hey, checkout was at 10, and this was at like, I want to say this was at like 11 or 12, and we were like, oh god, we're so sorry, we didn't realise. So we had to drive home that day, and that was okay. It was a bit of a struggle. It was quite uncomfortable in the car, but it probably would have been uncomfortable the next day anyway. So yeah. We got back home. I pretty much went and lied down straight away, and I didn't really get up much. I spent like a week or two just pretty much lying in bed, and I'd get up to use the toilet and to eat dinner. But I spent pretty much 2 solid weeks just lying. We have like a double bunk bed kind of deal. And basically, there's like a ladder, so what we did was we brought a futon and put it under the double bunk bed. So it's like the top is a double bed and then the bottom is like a desk and stuff. So we put a futon down here, and I've just been sleeping down here since, because I can't climb the ladder very well. And Catherine Milroy also suggested not sleeping in the same bed for a little while, just because it can be kind of awkward, and Kyder's worried about, like, knocking my chest or anything, or more knocking one specific part of it, which I'll get to in a minute. So I spent 2 weeks just lying in bed, basically playing Persona 5. I completed the game, which was fun, and then, like, after that, I started to, like, get up a bit more and use my laptop and be a little bit more active, within reason. I would sleep until quite late, get up in the afternoon, get up for a bit, have dinner, and then go lie down again, and then
just sleep pretty much, which isn't a bad thing. Everyone is different, but generally when I'm under the weather or I'm ill in any way or I've hurt myself, generally I find sleeping is really, really, really good for me. It tends to make me feel a whole lot better. So basically I just lied in bed playing video games and sleeping a lot. And then by like the 2.5 week mark, I started to be able to draw again and sit up on my laptop a lot, and that was great. And around the 3.5 week mark, I started to be able to go out again. With help, I started to be able to like get dressed, and I want to specify that everyone who has top surgery is different. They will have a different sort of like time frame of which they can and can't do things, and the surgeon that you have will give you an estimate depending on their technique and stuff. It's also different for me because I have chronic pain issues in my legs and my back, and these can be exacerbated by a lot more rest because we don't exactly know what causes them, but my GP thinks it may be fibromyalgia, which is the kind of thing where you have to strike a very specific balance of rest and activity. If you have too much activity, you become very sore. If you have too much rest, you become very stiff and sore. So it's kind of finding a balance, and I really wanted to not make my chronic pain worse, so 3 weeks, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Tesco's, I'm gonna do a couple of things, like go out for like an hour or so, and then at 4 weeks, I was going up to like my GP, which is a 10-minute walk, like on my own, and it's fine. So I had my dressings taken off after about a week. For anyone who's having top surgery, one thing I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure, like, I have been going for top surgery for like 10 years, and even with all the knowledge on the internet, I've never seen anyone mention it, and it might just be that I got really unlucky and didn't realize, but one of the things they do is they sew a sponge to your chest, over the nipple, I believe to kind of cushion it and also absorb a lot of the like leakage and like blood and stuff. And that was really strange to see them take off. It wasn't like squeamish. It wasn't squeamish, it was just weird. The dressings guy I had said that some people have fainted when he's taken it off because they're not expecting it, but yeah, just a fair warning, they put a sponge on your nipple. So I think I mentioned before in a previous part that I had a 90% take on one nipple and 75% take on another, and so far they're doing quite well. It would have been very, very, very useful if the surgeon or anyone in the medical team had given me kind of a chart as to what a healthy nipple looks like, what an infected nipple looks like, kind of the warning signs of what to look for with regards to infection or good healing, alright healing, bad healing sort of thing, because I've been very worried about it, because you hear a lot of horror stories about, oh, this person's nipple fell off, or this person's nipple didn't take and it just kind of hung off kind of thing. You hear a lot of horror stories, and I've been very worried, and there was a couple of days ago where like part of the scab on the nipple was kind of falling off, and I was very unsettled by it. I was like, is this something for me to worry about, or is this just naturally the scab coming off? Stuff like that. My surgeon and dressings clinic nurse basically said that I should be doing this. I got a kind of tub of like this kind of special moisturizer stuff to rub into the scars, and I have to do that like 2 to 3 times a day. The first time, I can't actually do it. I need Kaida to help me because I can't reach the bit of my scar that's under my that's kind of by my armpits. You gotta massage it into the scar, and it helps it. And the first time we did it was terrifying because bits of scab was falling off as we were doing it, and it was just... I am permanently in fear of like tearing my scars open because another thing that's very difficult after you have top surgery, or at least after I had top surgery, and please bear in mind that I'm quite short, but I'm quite a heavy guy. Was I had a lot of difficulty twisting my body, and I found out after a while that it hurt. It was hurting a lot, and I was like, I wonder why. And I put some tissue under my arm, and I realized it was hurting so much because the way I was twisting to wipe myself after going to the toilet or put clothes on, put a belt on. It was tearing open the scar under my armpit very slightly. It wasn't anything major. It was just something that I needed to be aware of. So even really, really simple things like going to the toilet or putting a belt on does become a little difficult, and it is a lot easier if you have help with putting clothes on at least. I didn't get any help with going to the bathroom because a bit too much for me. I like to be independent, so it's been very difficult the last couple of weeks having to have help from everyone, which sounds very ungrateful. I am very grateful for everyone's help. It's just I'm really not used to it. I'm used to being very independent despite my disabilities and my chronic pain and stuff like that, so it's been interesting. But with regards to that moisturizer I was mentioning, I got a special pot of moisturizing cream from the dressings nurse, but he also said once that runs out, it's totally fine if you use something like E45 cream, which I have a massive tub of because I have a skin condition and it helps a lot with the skin condition. So rubbing that in helps to keep the scar tissue quite moist and I think quite elastic and stuff. So, with regards to pain in general, even at the 1 month mark, I think it's been a bit more than 4 weeks. I think it's been about 5 weeks or so. It's quite sore still. Sleeping is still very difficult, although I can now sleep on my side, which is a lot more comfortable for me. Yeah, one thing for people who are going to have top surgery, I would recommend getting used to sleeping on your back before you have the surgery, because it'll make it a lot easier. When I was in the hospital and the first few nights when I was still kind of because I don't know how long the effects of anesthetic last, but it sure did feel like they lasted a week or so. That might have just been a kind of wound-induced haze, though, because I was quite tired. I would recommend learning to sleep on your back, or getting comfortable with sleeping on your back, in advance of having the surgery, because it can be very uncomfortable. Because your body and your mind is please turn over, please turn to the side, and it's you just can't, and it kind of sucks when you already have sleeping problems and chronic pain, and sleeping on my back sometimes can exacerbate my back and neck pain. But yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I need to say about it. Overall, so far, my scar is quite big, but that's not really a problem. The surgeon was you may have a big scar, I'm really sorry about that, and I was it's fine, I don't mind. I don't plan to go shirtless in front of anyone. So it doesn't bother me. The shape of my chest is very, very nice. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Personally, I've seen a lot of people on the internet kind of, talking about Catherine Milroy, and there's a lot of really negative stuff about her, and that's fine. I'm not discrediting those people, because as a surgeon, I found her as a medical professional, I found her very difficult to approach. I found it very difficult to ask questions. She was a bit too blunt, and not blunt in the same way Dr. James Barrett is blunt. She felt very unapproachable, whereas personally, I felt like I could ask James Barrett questions. Although I know a lot of people have had really bad times with Barrett, because he can be a bit I'm not really sure how to word it. But, like, I'm happy with the results, and so far, the healing is going well. I'm still a bit terrified of my nipples. It's like, I'm pretty sure I'm past the point where I can have, where, like, it's likely that an infection will develop unless I do something really stupid. But it's still a worry, and that worry is probably a good thing because it keeps me very cautious, so I'm less likely to damage any of the area or exacerbate or wear out any of the area. But as I was saying, my experience with Catherine Milroy is a fairly positive one. The results are very nice. It can be, I know, is very difficult for some surgeons to operate on bigger guys. Like, my chest was very, very big prior to the surgery. Although it wasn't big because I'm fat. It was very glandular, so I had a lot of quite large mammary glands, I think, judging by what Catherine Milroy said, which was that it seemed quite, it didn't seem that there was much fat, it was just glands, so, but, yeah. I'm not saying that Catherine Milroy is, like, is, like, the best surgeon ever, or, like, discrediting anyone who's had a bad experience with her, because I know a lot of people have had bad experiences with her. But seeing all those bad experiences and seeing no positive experiences before I went in to have the surgery did make me very nervous. Because when you hear a lot of bad things about people, and, like, this surgery it's the first time I've had surgery, it's fairly major surgery, like, it's a surgery that I have wanted for over half my life, kind of thing. Because back when I was younger on the internet, and when I say younger, I mean, back in, like, the really early 2000s, and I found people talking about trans stuff, and there wasn't really that much information. Like, I spoke to other people who were trans, and, I was, like, 11? Maybe even, like, 10. And I found out that there were surgeries for people like me. It made me a lot more comfortable to know that there's stuff out there, and that maybe could be a thing I could pursue in the future, but, once I hit, like, 12, 13, and puberty started to kick in, I was like, this is something that I feel like I need. But anyway, that's another story for another time, but, because it's a surgery that I've wanted for, half my life kind of thing, it felt like a really, 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 really major deal, and it is a really, really major deal. But another thing I will say is, I tried not to focus on it before I had the surgery. I tried to be very calm and very, like, not get anxious or worried. So, in a weird sort of way, because I've avoided thinking about it so as to not get worried about it, it still kind of hasn't set in that I've had the surgery, which is really weird because it's a very major surgery. A very large part of my body is now gone. I'm off work. I'm having to do a new routine, with regards to changing my dressings and like, doing the creams and stuff, and I have to sleep, like, on a futon and etc, etc. But it still kind of hasn't set in that I have had top surgery. I'm now post-op. And this is probably how I will remain with regard to my transition, because I want a hysterectomy, but I don't want phalloplasty, or more, I don't feel like I need phalloplasty to be comfortable, because no one except for my partner and my doctor, maybe, is going to see my genitalia, so, and Packers exists, so it's a much easier thing for me to be comfortable with, or for me to kind of deal with, than trying to bind as somebody who has a cup size bigger than a double D kind of thing. Like, I've been binding, like, since I was probably, like, 14 or something, and it's always been a bit of an uphill struggle. But now I don't have to bind, except for this annoying surgical binder, and actually that's another thing I should talk about. I got a surgical binder, and I have been wearing it since the surgery, except for a couple of nights where I've had to put it, clean it and stuff, because it gets very gross. It smells awful. The surgical binder is incredibly uncomfortable the more you wear it. It might just be the type that I got, but it's not great. I'm used to wearing a binder for more than the recommended amount of time every single day, because I think since I was about 16, I've pretty much permanently worn a binder, except for when I'm sleeping, showering, or sometimes when I'm at home, kind of thing. And like, I understand that's not how you're meant to do it, that's a bad thing and against recommendations, but I was fully informed when I made the decision to do this, so I did it. It's not like I didn't know that it was a bad thing to do, it's just I chose to do it because for me that's more comfortable. Anyway, so this surgical binder it's not like super tight, that's not why it's uncomfortable, it's a lot easier to move in than without it right now. So if I take it off and I try and move around, it feels a lot more pulling. Like, it feels like there's a lot more pulling on, like, my scars under my arms and stuff. But my main issue with it is that because I'm wearing it constantly, you have to wear it while you're asleep, you have to wear it, if you're resting, you have to wear it when you go out. The only time you don't wear it is when you're showering, or, in my case, I made the decision to take it off and wash it a couple of times. It's given me kind of like a weird skin rash on my chest. I'm 100% sure it's the binder, because I took it off to wash it, and instead I put on one of my older binders, which is now very, very loose on me. So much so that it almost wasn't, like, fully touching my skin. And I slept overnight while the binder was drying, the surgical binder, and the rash was gone in the morning, and I put the surgical binder back on, and after like 2 days the rash was back. So it's not like a spotty rash, it's just kind of a red, kind of sort of inflamed area, but that's the thing to talk to your surgeon about if you're worried about, kind of thing. I haven't, because getting a hold of Catherine Milroy is like getting a hold of a unicorn. That's another downside, is she's very, very difficult to get a hold of. Overall, I'm glad that I went with her, because the results for me turned out pretty good, and the waiting list was very, very short compared to Andrew Yelland, who was my original choice, because I have family in Brighton. And I grew up, I lived in Brighton for like 18, 19 years, and all my family lived there, so it would have been a lot easier for me to have surgery there, because, the day I got discharged, I could have just gone to my mum's, like a 10-20 minute drive away from the hospital, rather than a 3-hour drive from London down to Bournemouth. But for me, getting rid of my chest was a lot more, like, quicker, was a lot more important than pretty results, kind of thing. So I was willing to, forgo having a really, really, really good looking chest to get rid of it quicker, which, on looking back on it, is probably a bad thing, but oh well. It's a decision I made, and in the end of the day it turned out well, because my scars are actually they are getting a lot smaller each couple of days, so it's looking like it's going to end up quite thin scars. And the shape, as said, is really, it looks very natural, looks very nice. So yeah, overall, still quite sore, a little bit of pain. I have very strong painkillers because of my chronic pain anyway, so it's not much of a problem for me, but it might be a problem for people who don't have access to stronger painkillers. I have a high pain tolerance anyway, so it might be worse, it might be better, I'm not sure. I have heard, though, that chest-related surgery tends to be one of the least painful surgeries in comparison to other types of major surgeries, which is something I've heard of from people who have had bilateral mastectomies due to cancer and stuff. So, slightly different experience, but, overall, doing pretty well. I go back to work on the 15th, so I've got another week, week and a half, 2 weeks. But I'm going to see if I can work from home, because wearing a seatbelt is very uncomfortable, and I have to change my dressings very frequently, and to keep it all clean. And the dressings I've got now kind of fall off a lot, and I have to rub in the moisturizer 3 times a day. And sleeping is very difficult, so but yeah, I will probably do an update video in probably 6 months, also a good amount of time to give more stuff on my experiences. This video is mostly to talk about the stuff that I may forget, specific experiences with the hospital and going in and stuff, because I may forget it as time goes on. So keeping it fresh in my memory recording it while it's fresh in my memory is probably good, and then a little bit down the line I'll do this is how my healing went post-surgery in general, and how the results look 6 months. Probably won't actually give a picture of the results, but I can describe it pretty well, I think. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. It's meant to be kind of a general, kind of adding more experiences of someone having top surgery into the ether. So if a trans guy or a non-binary person who wants to have top surgery, or anyone who wants to have top surgery for any reason, needs another perspective and another kind of story about this, and also a bit of touching on what it's like being under Catherine Milroy, just kind of adding that into the ether, so there's more information out there, because pre-top surgery I tried to read as many stories as possible, and I always kind of have as many experiences as possible, so I know what to expect, and so I can kind of weigh up the pros and cons for myself. Although a thing to stress is every single surgeon is different and will have different guidelines about post-operative care. For example, a friend of mine, I have a lot of friends who have had top surgery, and some of them were given very, very, very different guidelines to me, because they have different surgeons, or they've had a different specific type of surgery. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will do an update eventually.